I'm Emily, and today on Daily English Talk, we're diving deep into something you experience almost every single day, but maybe never really think about: small talk. Small talk is the simple, short, casual conversation people use to connect with each other, break the silence, and make social situations more comfortable. It's often underestimated, but mastering it can make your daily interactions smoother, easier, and a lot more enjoyable. And even though it might look simple, there's a real art to it, especially if English is not your first language. Let's start with the basics. Small talk usually happens in places where people are close to each other but don't necessarily know each other well. Elevators, offices, cafes, stores, public transport, gyms, airports, parties, or even in your own neighborhood. Think about how often you've been next to someone in a situation where silence felt a little awkward. That's exactly where small talk steps in and works like a social bridge. It helps connect two people who might not share anything in common except the moment they're both experiencing. People often underestimate how important small talk is in English-speaking countries. In the US, Canada, Australia, and the UK, small talk is practically a social rule. You don't have to become best friends with everyone you meet, but saying a few friendly words shows that you're polite, approachable, and socially aware. When people avoid small talk completely, they can sometimes seem cold, distant, or uninterested, even if they didn't mean to. Imagine you walk into your office on a Monday morning. You're not fully awake yet, maybe still thinking about your weekend, and your coworker passes by and says, "Hey, how was your weekend?" This is not an invitation to give a long, detailed story of every second of your weekend. It's simply a social greeting. A quick, "It was nice, relaxing. How about yours?" is enough. The magic here is that this simple exchange creates a friendly atmosphere and makes both people feel more comfortable around each other. Let me give you a real example from daily life. I once watched two strangers in line at a coffee shop. They clearly didn't know each other, but the line was long, and the guy in front of the woman turned around and said, "Looks like everyone needs coffee this morning." The woman laughed and said, "Yeah, Mondays are always like this." And that was it. Two simple sentences, but they both smiled, both felt better. And the line didn't feel as annoying anymore. That's the beauty of small talk. It turns small moments into pleasant ones. Another common situation is talking about the weather. People joke about this, saying it's boring, but it's actually one of the safest and easiest topics to start a conversation. English speakers do this all the time. If it's hot, someone might say, "Wow, it's really warm today, isn't it?" If it's cold, "I can't believe how cold it got overnight." The weather doesn't matter, it's just a door that opens the conversation. And here's something interesting. Small talk in English is not about the words. It's about the feeling you create. You don't need complicated vocabulary. In fact, simpler is better. What matters is sounding friendly, polite, and open. You can master small talk with phrases like, "Oh, really? That's interesting. I know what you mean. Totally. Right? And I feel the same." These short expressions help keep the conversation moving and show that you're engaged. Let's look at a few everyday places where real small talk happens and break down how these conversations work. Picture yourself in an elevator. 2 or 3 people stand silently, staring at the numbers. It feels a bit strange, right? In the US, it's extremely common for someone to make a little comment like, "Seems like everyone's heading out at the same time today," or "I think this elevator is slower every Monday." The goal isn't to start a deep conversation, just to make the moment feel less heavy, less awkward. Now imagine a grocery store. You're at the checkout, placing items on the conveyor belt. The cashier might say, "Doing some shopping for the week?" or "Those strawberries look great today." You're not expected to tell your life story. Something simple like, "Yeah, just stocking up a bit," or "I hope they're as good as they look," is perfect. Cashiers talk to dozens or even hundreds of people every day, so small talk becomes a quick, natural part of the exchange. Another classic situation is the gym. You're both using machines or waiting for a free bench. Someone might say, long day? Or I always feel more motivated after the first set. The perfect reply would be, yeah, work was crazy today, or same here, once I start, I'm good. These short exchanges make the gym feel like a friendly place instead of a room full of strangers. Or think about airports, one of the best places for small talk. Everyone is traveling, waiting, tired, excited, nervous, or bored. Small talk might start with something like, is this the line for boarding group B? Or, have you flown with this airline before? Or, I hope the weather doesn't delay the flight. And the other person answers something short like, yeah, it is. Or, I have, they're usually on time. These little conversations help pass the time and make travel less stressful. And here's something important for English learners. Small talk often follows a pattern. Someone makes an observation, then the other person responds. Then maybe they add a tiny bit more information. But it rarely goes deeper unless both people feel comfortable. For example, beautiful day, isn't it? Yeah, it's really nice out. Finally some sun. Right? I was getting tired of all the rain. That's it. Short, light, simple. No big stories, no personal details. People sometimes worry about saying the wrong thing or sounding unnatural. But here's the truth. Small talk is not about perfection. Native speakers don't speak perfectly. And they pause, they say, they change thoughts mid-sentence. You don't need to sound like a textbook. You just need to sound like you're open to a little friendly connection. Let's talk about another reality, cultural differences. In some countries, people don't do small talk at all. Silence is normal, but in English-speaking countries, silence between strangers can feel uncomfortable. That's why even tiny conversations, a sentence or two, can make such a big difference socially. Learning how to use small talk is like learning a new unwritten rule of communication. And one more thing, small talk doesn't need to be funny or impressive. You don't need to create jokes or show off your language skills. You only need to participate. Even a simple smile and a short answer is enough to make the interaction smoother. When you start practicing small talk, it might feel strange at first. You might feel awkward, but with time, it becomes natural. And you'll start seeing real benefits. More friendly interactions, easier conversations at work, better relationships with neighbors, coworkers, classmates, or even strangers who might later become friends. Now, let's dig even deeper into real examples of how small talk sounds in actual daily life. Imagine you're sitting in a waiting room at a dentist's office. A woman next to you sighs and says, I always get nervous before appointments. A natural response would be, same here, I never get used to it. This tiny exchange creates a connection, even if you never see each other again. Or imagine you're getting your morning coffee. The barista sees you often and says, going with your usual today? You smile and say, yeah, need my caffeine. They might reply with, I get that, mornings are rough. And suddenly, the simple act of buying coffee feels more human. Small talk doesn't solve problems, it doesn't go deep, but it makes everyday life warmer, lighter, more social. Small talk continues to appear in many moments of everyday life, especially in places where people gather without any specific purpose other than sharing the same space for a short period of time. It happens on buses, in offices, in long lines, in waiting rooms, and in countless small environments where silence can feel a little heavy or uncomfortable. English-speaking cultures use small talk as a way to create ease and soften the edges of these shared moments. When someone sits next to you on public transportation and mentions how slow the traffic is or how crowded everything feels, they are not trying to start a deep conversation. They are simply offering a small bridge of connection that acknowledges the situation you are both experiencing. Responding naturally, even with just a few words, maintains this social flow and makes the environment feel lighter and more comfortable. Parks are another place where small talk grows naturally because people feel more relaxed and observant. A comment about the weather, the dogs playing nearby, or the peaceful atmosphere is enough to open a brief exchange that makes the moment feel human and shared. In these situations, small talk is not about information. It is about presence. In workplaces, especially in countries like the United States, Canada, or Australia, people often begin interactions with light, friendly remarks before moving into tasks or responsibilities. This is not a waste of time, but a cultural norm that helps build trust and communicate goodwill. When coworkers acknowledge each other's day, weekend, or general mood before discussing work, they create a foundation of comfort that makes collaboration smoother. Many English learners underestimate how essential this skill is professionally, because in English-speaking environments, refusing or avoiding small talk can sometimes be interpreted as stress, discomfort, or distance. Understanding the purpose of these small exchanges helps you become part of the rhythm of everyday communication. Small talk also appears naturally in shops, cafes, and grocery stores, where interactions are short and transactional, but still carry a human tone. When employees or customers comment lightly on the day, the weather, the speed of the line, or the items someone is buying, they are not expecting a long response. A simple acknowledgement maintains a smooth flow of the situation and communicates friendliness. It is a social ritual, and once you understand this ritual, you begin to participate without pressure or overthinking. People who learn English often worry that small talk requires perfect grammar or a wide range of vocabulary, but the truth is that native speakers often use simple, repetitive, and relaxed language in these moments. What matters more is tone and openness. A soft, friendly voice, a smile, or a brief response that matches the mood of the situation is enough to show that you understand the social expectation. Small talk at social events works in the same way. When you arrive at gatherings where you do not know many people, small talk helps you adjust, find comfort, and connect with others without effort. People use light remarks about the place, the atmosphere, the food, the music, or their connection to the host. These moments are not tests. They are small opportunities to join the flow of the group. Even when you feel uncertain about your English, you can still participate naturally by keeping your sentences calm, short, and sincere. Over time, small talk becomes easier and feels less like a task and more like a natural part of interacting with others. One of the most interesting aspects of small talk is how it often leads to more meaningful conversations without any planning. You may start with a simple remark about the day or the environment and suddenly find yourself discussing travel, goals, personal interests, or shared experiences. Small talk opens the door, and once the atmosphere feels safe and friendly, people naturally become more open and expressive. This happens not because small talk itself is meaningful, but because it creates the emotional space for deeper connection. When people feel comfortable, they communicate more freely. Learning to navigate small talk is especially important if you plan to live, work, or travel in English-speaking countries, because it acts as a cultural tool that helps you blend into social dynamics smoothly. It shows politeness, confidence, and respect for the rhythms of everyday communication. Even simple acknowledgments like agreeing with someone's comment or responding with a short observation communicate warmth. Small talk is not small at all. It is a subtle but powerful social skill. As you practice it in different environments, parks, stores, airports, gyms, workplaces, neighborhoods, you start to understand how it influences the atmosphere around you. It turns daily moments into small exchanges of humanity. It reduces tension, it builds familiarity, and it makes living in a new culture feel far less isolated. Small talk is the first step to many things. A comfortable conversation, a new friendship, a positive impression, or even an unexpected opportunity. It helps you feel connected to people around you, even when you do not share a deep relationship. And when you use it naturally, you gain confidence not only in your English, but also in your social presence. As we reach the end of this episode, I want you to remember that small talk is not about sounding perfect or impressive. It is about participating in the gentle flow of everyday human interaction. It is a skill anyone can learn, and the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Every environment offers you a small chance to connect, and each connection builds your confidence in the language you are learning. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm Emily, and you've been listening to Daily English Talk. If you enjoyed this episode and want to keep improving your English through natural, real-life explanations and comfortable conversations, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps the podcast grow and allows me to create more episodes for you every week. Take care, and I'll talk to you again soon.